Have you ever noticed how a university campus feels after midnight when the crowds vanish, the lights dim, and buildings meant for learning suddenly feel like they're watching you back? Because tonight we're stepping into a side of higher education most brochures never mention. And before we begin, welcome to the channel where we explore unsettling true legends, documented folklore, and real-world mysteries that hide in plain sight. So, if you value deep research, atmospheric storytelling, and stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because this October series is only just beginning. And now imagine walking across a quiet quad in autumn, leaves scraping along stone paths, statues casting long shadows, band windows glowing in buildings that should be empty. Yet across the world, students have reported hearing whispers carried on cold air between dorms. Voices calling names that no one nearby remembers speaking. Footsteps pacing beside them, only to vanish when they turn. And doors unlocking themselves in halls, sealed for decades. And these are not isolated rumors, but recurring legends tied to universities with long, layered histories. Places built on older institutions, forgotten hospitals, closed boarding schools, or land once marked by tragedy. Because universities are unique environments where stress, isolation, ambition, and history collide, creating fertile ground for stories that refuse to die. And many students dismiss their first unsettling experience as exhaustion or pressure, until patterns emerge, until multiple residents describe the same sounds at the same hour, the same chill in the same stairwell, the same sense that something unseen is observing them from behind old brick walls. And one widely shared account from a North American campus describes first year students hearing soft knocking on dorm room doors shortly after lights out, but when opened, the hallway was always empty. Security logs showed no movement, and the knocks occurred only on rooms once used as infirmary quarters decades earlier. And while administrators labeled it a plumbing issue, the knocking continued even after renovations, feeding an older legend that a student nurse who died during a campus epidemic still checked on rooms at night. And whether you see these stories as psychological responses or something more, they reveal how easily familiar spaces transform once the crowds disappear. And as you listen, ask yourself this question. If your campus holds centuries of memories, how many of them were never meant to be remembered? Dorm rooms are meant to be places of safety, exhaustion, laughter, and late-night conversations. Yet, they are also the setting for some of the most persistent campus curse legends ever recorded. Because these small, shared spaces amplify fear when something feels wrong. And across universities, students have reported what they describe as phantom roommates, unseen presences that move objects, sit on beds, breathe nearby, or mimic familiar sounds, like typing, whispering, or pacing. And one recurring legend appears in multiple countries under different names. The story of the extra resident, where students insist their room feels occupied even when alone. Doors close softly without drafts, chairs shift positions overnight, and personal items relocate despite locked rooms. And in several documented cases, housing records revealed the rooms were once triple occupancy decades earlier. One resident having died suddenly and unofficially removed from assignment logs, and beyond unseen presences, many dorm legends focus on cursed comforts, everyday objects blamed for sudden misfortune, illness, or academic collapse, such as mirrors inherited from former residents that allegedly reflect movement behind you, desks that cause recurring nightmares for anyone assigned to them, pult or specific bed numbers avoided by upperclassmen who claim everyone who slept there transferred, failed out, or left under unexplained circumstances. And perhaps the most unsettling stories involve students discovering old items left behind in dorm renovations, journals, clothing, or notebooks tucked into walls or under floorboards. Items that seem to carry emotional weight, with students reporting mood changes, intrusive thoughts, or a sense of being watched shortly after, bringing them into their rooms. And while skeptics point to suggestion and stress, many students say the fear only begins after learning the item's history, raising an unsettling question about how stories themselves can act as a kind of curse, shaping perception and experience. And one widely circulated dorm legend tells of a room sealed after repeated reports of identical nightmares from different occupants over decades. Dreams of a student sitting silently at the foot of the bed, waiting, never speaking, never moving, until housing quietly converted the space into storage. And even today, residents claim the hallway outside that door is unnaturally cold. And as midterms loom and sleep deprivation sets in, these legends thrive not because students are weak, but because universities place young people into intense, unfamiliar environments, layered with history they never fully see. Beyond dorms lie the academic heart of campus, lecture halls, libraries, and archives. Spaces meant for knowledge, yet steeped in stories of repetition, memory, and obsession. And many universities share legends of spectral professors who appear late at night, chalk scraping across boards long after classes end, projectors flickering on by themselves, or recorded lectures activating without input, often tied to educators who taught until death or disappeared under scandal. And students report hearing lectures echoing faintly in empty halls, voices repeating outdated theories word for word, as if memory itself refuses to move on. And libraries, perhaps more than any space, carry the densest folklore, with stories of cursed textbooks that allegedly bring failure or misfortune to those who borrow them. Books that vanish from shelves only to reappear years later in the same condition. And restricted archives rumored to cause overwhelming dread, nausea, or emotional distress in anyone who studies them too long. And some campuses maintain unofficial do not borrow lists passed quietly between students, not enforced by staff, but respected through experience. And beneath these legends lie real histories, suicides during exam periods, students lost to accidents, archivists who worked in isolation for decades, groundskeepers who lived and died on campus and are now reported walking paths they once maintained. And while administrators emphasize safety and progress, folklore persists because it offers meaning to unexplained fear. And as this investigation closes, we turn the question to you. Have you ever experienced something on campus you couldn't explain? A sound, a presence, a story everyone knew but no one officially acknowledged, because whether these legends are supernatural, psychological, or cultural, they transform universities. From places of certainty into landscapes of mystery. And if you have a campus story, share it in the comments. Subscribe for future episodes where we explore real submissions. And remember, knowledge doesn't erase fear. Sometimes it gives it a place to live. And the next time you walk through a quiet lecture hall or unlock your dorm room after midnight, ask yourself, are you truly alone, or just the latest resident in a place that never forgets?